And Full Court Press is here. It's great to be back in the digital studio of CBS 17 Plus. Kevin Holden and Todd Gibson. Gibby, of course, we were here a lot during football season, and that was fun. But basketball is a different thing in the Triangle.
It's king in the Triangle.
It really is. And it's great. It's just great to be here. We're going to be here for the duration of the regular season, postseason, and certainly we hope right up to the national championship game, talking about some of the best basketball in the country. And my goodness, we don't have to go very far for evidence of that, as we've had, first of all, two teams basically in the top 15 to top 20 all year, and a scrappy NC State squad that's been knocking on the door of the top 25 and maybe picked up, call it their biggest win of the season so far, a blowout win over UNC on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I was able to be at that game covering it for CBS 17. First of all, just the atmosphere was fantastic. You know, a lot of Wolfpack fans, they're clamoring, just kind of off topic, they've been clamoring to, we should need our games to be played at Reynolds Coliseum because the atmosphere at the Lenovo isn't great. Well, it was last night. It was great last night. 19,000 screaming fans, where as opposed to Reynolds only holds like 6,000, so you can't do that. Anyways, off topic there. But it was a fantastic environment. It was great. I just wish that North Carolina had its two best players there last night. You know, Caleb Wilson and Henry Vessar, because if they had, I think that game would have gone right down to the wire. And the way NC State was playing last night, that could have been one of those all-time great games. So it was just a great atmosphere, fun environment, and NC State did what they had to do after the Miami game, where they really failed at the end of the game. They took care of business at home against an arch rival, and it was good to see on NC State's part.
Yeah, it's funny. You kind of answered what was my next question and sort of countered my next point, which is a good thing, because I was about to come in with the kind of take that gets you in trouble on like sports talk radio, which is, hey, it was great for recruiting for NC State. It was great for the stat sheets and the press releases. But what does it really mean to win a game like that when the opposition has literally, they're missing, two of their two best guys, in my opinion. But yeah, I suppose there is a little more to it than that. Will Wade's, hugging his walk-on superstar there. So that's meaningful for the franchise, and that's for them, for the program. This is what they're going to be able to take with them now in the weeks to come.
They certainly will, and I hate that they won't get full credit for the win. They showed up. Give them credit. They showed up. Yeah. They were the more excited team to play. And then they proved it last night. And to see them play the way they played last night, even though they were against a wounded team, they still played really good basketball. And they could have come into this game, still wounded from the Miami loss, because that was kind of a devastating loss. The way they lost that game at the end, it was not pretty. But for them to show up, be engaged, and play the basketball game the way that they can play it, it was impressive to see. And I think that gives them hope and confidence as they go forward. And that's something that's invaluable as you head to the ACC tournament and then the NCAA tournament.
If there was any doubt in anybody's mind that this win wasn't meaningful for NC State, Van Allen Lubin comes in with the belt. Little mock on Caleb Wilson right there, who didn't even play in the game. That's how much this meant to NC State. Here's their reaction after the win.
Off the mat, and we talk about you always got to do your best work in tough circumstances, and our guys certainly did that. Thought we played with way more kind of bite to us today.
And then just to follow up, how much of a step forward is that for this group? They've been pretty inconsistent throughout the year. How much does that show kind of the growth they've made learning?
We'll see. It's one game, Noah. Let's see if we can maybe carry that forward a little bit. So. It's a good step tonight.
It just means a lot, just knowing that my guys have my back since day one. They know how important this game is to me, and just knowing that I want to come out and play my hardest and, play together like we did today. And it just means a lot that we come out with a win like this and we all play together the right way.
A little bit of a pause here, and we'll get into that a little later, but they get the rest of the week to sort of rest after a game like that. Is that good or bad this time of year?
Boy, that's a good question. I think coaches will usually say the rest is pretty good at this time of the year, I would think. And as an outsider looking in, I would think that would be the case as well. But you do have the momentum from last night. You're playing well. You played well last night. You proved to yourself that you can beat your rival, and you got that momentum going. A lot of times the players want to play. I know on hockey terms, Rod Brindamore, he would say, let's play. But basketball might be a little bit different. But I think this time of the year, a little bit of rest is not a bad thing.
So for NC State, they'll get a chance to rest. At UNC UNC would love a chance to rest. Hubert Davis, if he could plug in an off date right now with his two best guys out, he would certainly do that. As we go back to this one here and look at this game from the UNC perspective, they've been forced into this situation basically now where they're going to see what the rest of the team is made of. Should they be concerned that without the top two that the rest of that team came up so far short?
Oh, I'd be concerned for sure. It's your two best players. But the good thing is if they get those players back, look what's happening now. Zayden High is proving that he can play basketball. He's been there for a while now at UNC and has never, you look at him and think that he shouldn't play. He can't play here. He's been playing pretty good the last couple of games, and also you saw Jaron Stevenson last night pick his game up as well. So that's telling you that when you get those two guys back, if Vesser needs to come out of the game, High can come in there and play pretty effectively at that position. But if Caleb Wilson's out, they got nobody at all that can go in there and play that position and have any hope of even coming close to the production of Caleb Wilson, and that is going to be a big problem.
You know what they looked like last in that game against NC State without their two best players? They look like last year's team.
Yeah.
Smaller, not as, because size has been the big change, right? I mean, that's what they've added. Yeah. And with that gone, suddenly they were mortal.
They were, and I'm still concerned with their backcourt too. They got their backcourt is just it's not good. I went online today and listened to the prognosticators. They're saying that this is the point guards are the worst that they've ever had it at UNC possibly, and that's concerning. That's really concerning. But it was good to see Stevenson pick his game up because you saw him, watch him in high school. He's a local kid, and you just knew that he had that in him. And to see him play at a higher level, that could bode really well as the season goes into the ACC tournament and into the NCAA tournament.
What a shift going from no bigs to rough point guard play.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Been a rough week plus in the life of Hubert Davis. Interesting philosophical perspective from him here.
8 days, that's life. I don't know how else to put it. I like to hear if anybody in this room has had consistent, sunny, clear sky, no wind days. Things, you have to adjust. The only thing you have control over is how you react and respond, and so we'll get back to work and move forward.
You can do at this point, get back to work and move forward. And for them, and again, that's something we'll get back into. Syracuse is next on their schedule, and Syracuse is a team that we just saw. And wow, did Duke talk about having sunny days? Duke had a sunny day on the court. They dropped 101 on them.
That was impressive, and I was watching a little bit of that game, and I know you were at that game. I still think the best part of Duke is their defense. They just play fantastic defense, but to see them put that many points on the board, that was impressive. Because when it comes to Duke, I'm wondering, they got Cam Boozer, they have the primary score. But, Kevin, do they have another score that they can count on game in and game out? I don't know if they do. Isaiah Evans should be that guy, shouldn't he?
Right.
He should be that guy.
I think he should be that guy.
But it just at times it doesn't seem like he is that guy. So that's one thing that might be concerning for me when it comes to Duke basketball. But they can always lean on their defense because their defense is so good that it might mask that a little bit. So I don't know, but I would like to see Isaiah Evans pick up his game and be that second scorer for Cam Boozer, because if he could get hot and be that guy, Duke is going to be a hard out.
It's interesting how defensive pressure can help you on the offensive end. I hear coaches, not just at Duke, but other places talk about that as well. I was talking to a buddy who was at this game, and I said, man, they dropped 101. He said, didn't feel like it, and it's because pressure ended up leading to a lot of those points. That was a good thing, and a theme for Duke afterwards.
Love the sharing that we had, 21 assists, 4 turnovers. I think that tells the story. I thought our defensive effort was high level, and I'm just proud of our guys for the one-day prep. We didn't do anything on the floor. It was all walk-through film. I thought they had great attention to detail, and it was a great win for us.
We talked about having energy, carrying the energy from Clemson to this game. I think it all started on the defensive end. You get stops, you get going on offense, and then those shots became easier. They come more open, more in rhythm. So it all started for our defense for sure.
And with that, defense leads to offense, and it leads to 101 points for a Duke team that's – look, it's not that they haven't been tested. It's that they've passed really the majority of those tests with flying colors, and that's why I think 101 points in a game in mid-February means a lot more than 101 in a game in mid-January. I mean, I think this is Scheyer finding the guys, finding the identity of the team, finding the roles with the biggest games soon to come.
Yeah, and it seems like some of the players that had played bit parts all the way through the season are starting to pick their game up, like Caden Boozer. He's playing so much better. At the beginning of the year, I kind of questioned it. Why did they take him? Of course, why they took him. They took because they want his big brother, obviously. But the way he's playing now is leading me to believe that, wow, his kid can play pretty good. He comes in, it's a good transition. He's starting to score the ball a little bit. And Malik Brown has been just really solid from the center position. So they've got a lot of really good parts going for them right now. They really do, and they've been playing at such a high level. But then again with Duke, and it's always been that way at Duke. It starts with their defense, no question about it.
Scheyer praised Caden Boozer in the post game, and I thought that was
confidence builder, possibly.
That's exactly it. Yeah. He said he's poised on the court.
He wasn't at the beginning of the year though.
Right.
But you can see him progressing, and that's what you want to see in a player, and that's what's so impressive about college basketball players, watching them progress and get better as the season goes on. And I'm proud of him for doing that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's a calculated move. The big games are to come, and he said, just as you're saying, he understands that beyond the other Boozer, you do have to find the guys who are going to be able to step up to literally the biggest games of the year as they come up. The ACC tournament is. Math in my head's probably a bad idea, but it's like less than 4 weeks away.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. And then, of course, Selection Sunday right on the back end of it, and then they go from there. By the way, before we go to break, this is sort of an off-topic thing, but I love the idea of, and you're seeing this in the bracketology. Joe Lunardi goes through a couple times a week and updates his bracketology. And look, most of what goes on in bracketology is just like, They're mock drafts, right?
I love mock drafts.
Mock drafts are fun, but they almost never pan out that way, right? Like these are darts on a dartboard. So if you have a team that's an 8 seed, if you're NC State right now and you're projected for an 8 seed, and in one of them they have you going out west somewhere to the West Coast, and the next one they have you in DC, or I guess that's a Sweet 16 site, but you get the point. It's really difficult to pin down past the first few teams.
It is.
I think it's a pretty safe bet Duke's going to Greenville, South Carolina as a 1 seed.
Yeah.
But the thing that I saw that fascinated me was the idea of NC State going to Greenville, South Carolina as an 8 seed, setting up a potential second round Duke NC State game in Greenville. I think it's a lot to ask, right?
They would not do that. I've been in this ACC country for a long time. They would not, the committee would not do that. The committee would no, that's not happening, Kevin.
Because
but it's cool to think about. But no, that would not happen.
Yeah, I mean they obviously want the best impact every single game, right? And so a second round game with two like rival powers, it's a great idea. But I think the tournament,
the ACC would not be happy about that arrangement. I can tell you that they would not be happy about it because they want to get as many teams as possible to go on.
That's right.
You're knocking one out right there.
And the thing about Will Wade and that bunch is if he manages to find you tell he's a motivator. So if he motivates them properly in mid-March and they catch fire, they can be a Sweet 16
no
team.
Question about it.
Don't count them out, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I'd love to see them both teams go there, but in different brackets to where they wouldn't face each other.
Right.
And that's a possibility for sure.
Yeah, that makes way more sense.
Yeah, that would be good.
Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see that second round matchup.
No.
But no, I don't think that's going to happen. No. All right, we're going to look ahead. Duke has got a test that turns out to be one of the best tests that you could.
Awesome.
I mean, it's amazing. So we'll talk about that. That's coming up, and the rest of the schedule, plus a women's team that's celebrating a Sweet 16 of a different sort. We're talking about a win streak, and that'll be next year on Full Court Press. Full Court Press returns. Todd Gibson, Kevin Holden. We've been talking about just all the great storylines in the triangle basketball-wise. Duke plowing through the ACC, NC State coming up with the big win, UNC trying to figure out what life is going to look like without their big men for now, and then what happens once they return and you get to the postseason. But we got to step outside the ACC, Gibby, because we've got a game Saturday that if I had come to you today and I said, you're a schedule maker for college basketball, give me the best possible matchup in mid-February that's a non-conference matchup, Duke and Michigan would be that matchup.
Oh, no question about it. And full disclosure here, you know I'm a Ohio State fan, so but I'm hearing the Michigan fans saying that this is maybe their best team ever. And that is incredible because they've had some great teams with the Fab Five and all that stuff, but that game could, and kudos to both those teams for agreeing to play that game. At this time of the year, both teams are battled because the Big Ten's not a slouch, obviously. The ACC, we all know how powerful that conference is. To step out and play this game for us, the fans. They're playing it for us, the fans. Yeah. They really are. To see a game like this late in the season, it is going to be fantastic. It is two really, really good teams, and those are two teams that, if you're picking right now, that's half your Final Four right there. Those teams are going to be in the Final Four. If you're any prognosticator out there, those two teams are going to be in the Final Four. And here you're playing in late February, phenomenal.
Right, and it is a bit in the face of convention, which would normally tell you that a team trying to win a championship doesn't want something that's distracting along the way. I'm happy that they went completely in the other direction, because not only is it just going to be one of the most entertaining games of the entire regular season in the country in college basketball, not just that, it's going to be the perfect kind of test for Jon Scheyer and Duke, which is to say that level of competition this late in the year when he knows what his team looks like. And he's about to say the same thing I'm saying here, in a neutral site.
Right.
Meaning this is a February game that mimics March.
It really does.
And these days, when all these freshmen and transfers, everybody is new to a program, to me, that's important because a lot of those guys don't even have last year to draw off of.
Yeah, no question about it. And like you said, being a neutral site, this will mimic an NCAA tournament game, a late in the in a Elite Eight or Final Four game, and that's good. And it's good for Duke too, because we're talking about how good their defense is. Michigan's offense is phenomenal. So to see them play a team like Michigan that is just loaded on offense, that'll test their defense. They probably will not face a better offense than what they're going to face on Saturday, and that's going to be, and that will help them down the road. It really will, because everybody knows Duke wins with defense. We've talked about it in this show, but to see them play a Michigan offense that is just fantastic, I'm really looking forward to that matchup to see how that turns out.
So are they, because as soon as this game was over, there was no hesitation from these guys talking about Michigan and thinking about the preparation for the Wolverines.
Where we are with our team, and I love the fact where they are. That's what this game should be all about. I think it's going to bring out the best in both teams, and to get a chance to have this game, in February, neutral site, which all the postseason games we played in this type of environment, I just think is such an incredible opportunity for our group. And we'll be ready, and we'll grow and learn, and then we'll get back to ACC play.
We will grow and we will learn. You will do that.
Boy, you nailed that for sure.
In that game. UNC's next matchup is Syracuse Part 2, and we're looking at video from UNC Syracuse Part 1. This was, I'm going to guess, 2022? Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was less than 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That is a completely different team.
I was at that game, yeah.
Caleb Wilson, Henri Vesar, both big parts of what went on in that game. And, at this point, UNC's knocking on the door, past the top 15, starting to knock on the door of the top 10, and they're thinking in terms of different things. And life comes at you fast, man.
It really does. I think they'd like to go back to that point right there and hope that what transpired going forward hadn't happened. But yeah, it's a totally different team right now, and they're just kind of they're treading water right now. They really are treading water, trying to get those guys back. And it sounded like last night after the NC State game on Tuesday night, it sounded like they talked about that Henri Vesar is getting close. So he should be pretty close. Obviously Caleb Wilson probably not so much, but hopefully Caleb will come back before the season's over. And he was actually on the court on Tuesday night, shooting before the NC State game and looking pretty good. He had a little, looked like a soft cast on his left arm, but left hand.
You caught that live, by the way, on television, Wilson shooting, and I'm like, he had his hand kind of behind his pocket for a second. I'm like, wait a minute. Is he ready to go?
Yeah, a little bit. But then when he caught the ball to go into shooting form, it was natural shooting form. So the left hand was on the ball and doing a natural shot. So he didn't look uncomfortable. He didn't look in any pain. So I'm not a doctor, nor do I play one on TV. but hopefully he's back soon. I know Tar Heel fans are wanting back as soon as possible.
NC State gets that time off, and we talked about this already, but they play Virginia next February 24th on the road. I'm going to guess that when we say rest, when we say off time, Will Wade will not have any. Yeah. He'll be in film study for about 36 hours a day.
Yep.
And this, because for him, this is when the most important time comes. He's set up in a much better place than he was after they had lost back-to-backs, after Louisville when they had give up a bazillion points. He's in a good place, but he's got a little time to work with it now.
He does, and the thing about Virginia is really hard to prepare for. Not quite like they used to be the way they played defense in the past under Jones, but Tony Bennett. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're playing more like most college basketball teams play, but that's always a tough place to play. Virginia's pretty good, and State still has a chance to get into that top four in the ACC. I mean, they're kind of knocking on the door right there, but their schedule here at the end of the season is pretty tough. You got Virginia, you still have to play Duke, and so it's just difficult.
It's brutal. The path is not easy.
Yeah. I mean, you look. They have 4 more games, and I was looking at the schedule. I think yesterday, 2-2 at the worst. I think they go, and maybe they can sneak in a third win, but. It is a tough schedule.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's nothing comes easy this time of year.
ACC,
on to the women's side of things, and Duke's women were 3-6 at one point, and there was this is not a betting show. Let me just put that there. You don't ever want betting advice from me. Certainly, I'm assuming you're in the same boat. Duke was 3-6, and I think when they played South Dakota State at home, they might have been 4-6. Like they might have come in on a 1-game win streak. But it was something like an 11.5 point spread. I'll use those sometimes to kind of see how the experts feel about a team like this. Now, Duke had just played 3 of the top 5 teams in the country.
Tough schedule.
Right, like almost back to back to back. And so the 3-6 record was indicative of schedule way more than the team. South Dakota State was at Cameron Indoor, and this was an 11.5 point game. And I looked at that and I thought, everybody's wildly underestimating Duke. Duke won that game by 37, and they haven't lost since. They've strung together 16 wins in a row.
Yeah, I've seen them play just a couple days ago. I saw them play against UNC. It was a really good game. By the way, I was impressed with UNC. But anyways, they got a veteran backcourt. And they can score in the paint as well. And they're just like their men. They play really, really good defense, fundamentally sound. They got older players. When you have older players, they get the senior backcourt, two seniors in the backcourt, and they're playing great basketball. 16 straight wins is just. It's really hard to do in college basketball on the men's and the women's side. There's no question. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's a team that you have to think about, at least in a Final Four discussion, if they haven't lost literally in the calendar year.
But boy, that early schedule was, and obviously Carol Lawson did that on purpose. She wanted to challenge her team. Didn't turn out the way I'm sure she had planned, but now they've got those games out of the way. They've seen that tough competition, and they are really on a roll right now. They're playing some really good basketball.
So, and not to take anything away, as we'll move on to talk about UNC and NC State's women, because they are also playing good basketball. NC State's game at Notre Dame aside, that's a tough one. But I feel like UNC has flown a bit under the radar on the women's side, and they are still both are in position. If you're a top 4 seed, then you host in the first week, and I don't think either of those teams, either the Tar Heels or the Wolfpack, are out of that yet.
Right. No, not yet. And watching UNC play the other day against Duke, I was really impressed with their backcourt. They got a younger backcourt, and they got some players down low who can really score the basketball. And that was they only lost by 4 points at Cameron Indoor Stadium. It was impressive every time. Duke would make a run and get by 6 or 7 points. Okay, there it goes. boom, UNC would come right back and get it down to 2 points, and it was a back and forth game. I was really impressed with Courtney Banghart's team. They were really good in a really hostile environment. Another great crowd at Cameron, so it was a rivalry game, and it was almost a sellout there too. So that was fun for women's college basketball. But I left that game knowing that Duke's really good. They won 15 straight going in, but I came out of that game thinking, you know what? UNC's really impressive, and hopefully they can get a host site, because that would be fun to see how they perform at Carmichael Arena against some good competition.
March is coming. Ooh. Be ready for it. He's Todd Gibson. I'm Kevin Holden. We appreciate you watching Full Court Press.